Okay, we have one extra caveat over here that we have to understand. We already said that even if you put on a beged of Kilayim and it's not on account of to get warmth that you want to wear it, but you're doing it in order that you should get out of the tax collector, whatever that tax collector is, the halacha is that it's asur. Why? Because now the question is why. You don't want it for benefit. So this has to do one more item I didn't speak out yesterday. Hoyroa ha-Mishna, this psak, this conclusion of the Mishnah, she'as lubish beged Kilayim, that you're not allowed to wear a garment of Kilayim, afilu k'she'ein mischaven la'nois levisha, even if you're not doing it for the reason of wearing it, shnuya b'shitas Rabbi Yehuda. This is of the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. A famous machlokes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon that we have throughout Shas. Hasoiva, that's of the opinion, do b'shei mischavin osa, that if you do something and you have no intention to do it, but it becomes done, it's prohibited. What's the classical example of do b'shei mischavin osa? Is Gairis Safsel. If you drag a bench along a ground, so it's also according to Rabbi Yehuda, because even though it's a davar she'ein mischavin, you had no intention to make a furrow in the ground. Your intention was to move the bench from one side to another side. Still, it's also. Because that's the classic opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. However, Avalafir Reb Shimon, according to Reb Shimon, Nasoi b'shidov b'shem mischav muta, that he holds, if that wasn't your intention, be'emes muta lubish beged shel Kilayim k'shem mischav la'nois levisha, then it will be allowed. So basically, he's saying that this question over here in our Mishnah, whether you put on that garment not for a reason that you want to have warmth out of it or you want to wear it because you have to look presentable, but you're wearing it on account of to be able to clear customs without any problems, is totally on this machlokes between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. And that will be the question over here. And a lot of times you have throughout Shas this question, do we say davar she'ein mischavin or davar she'ein not mischavin? And this is different. There's one other type of situation that's comparable to this, which is not the same. And that's what's called, we're not talking about psik ratio over here, because over here it's not 100% the psik ratio. But there's what's called the malach she'ein tzricha legufa. What's a malach she'ein tzricha legufa? Let's say we know there's a halacha that you're not allowed to take from a rishus hayochid to a rishus harabim, or vice versa. It's an issa deraisa of eitzah that you're not allowed to do it. The beginning of Masechta Shabbos, Yitzi Shabbos Shtayim Shein Arba. So you're not allowed to do it. Meaning you want to take, let's say, your garbage or anything, and you take it from Rishus HaYoch to Rishus HaRab, you over on Issa D'Raisa. And if you did it b'shoigig, you have to bring a Chat Shmeina. If you did it b'mezid, with Asra, you chayiv skila. If you did it without Asra, you chayiv karis. Over here, what happens? The classical example in Masechta Shabbos is, let's say you want to take a mace out of the house. So when you take that, this is different a little bit. It's also, it's not a question of mutter or not, because Dav Shem is chavim. You're taking the mace out of the house in order to take it outside the house. So over there it's a malach shein tzrich l'gufa, because you're not taking the mace out of the house in order that it should be outside. You're taking the mace out of the house in order that it shouldn't be inside. That's the malach shein tzrich l'gufa, and that's already machlokes also between Yehuda. But it's not a question of mutin and chayiv. Over here, this is considered a davar she'eino mischab, because the issa of Kilayim is to have warmth from it, or wearing it to cover yourself. Over here, you're not doing that for that reason. But inadvertently, it happens. Since inadvertently it happens, it's like a davar she'eino mischab. That's what this Pirish is saying over here. This is brought down by the Rab, the Rash, the Rosh, and it's a Rashi in Masechta Shabbos. This is how it works. Okay, so let's go a little bit deeper into this. Rishonim elum sovim shehagdora ha'alachis shalavisha. These Rishonim who make this rule of thumb hold that what's the concept of wearing? He hanois chimim levishes beged. That's to give you warmth from the beged. If, let's say, you're not doing it for getting yourself warm, but you're doing it for an ulterior purpose, it's going to be considered like a davar she'eino mischab, because at the end of the day, even though that wasn't your purpose, but that's what happens. However, there are those that hold that it could be that it doesn't work that way. Sugin Yevomis comes out that it might not be that way, that you're wearing it just for warmth. And it'll be us even if you hold like Reb Shimon davar she'eino mischab mizmuta. And we'll see further later on in Mishna Hey more about this concept. That's why I'm mentioning it over here. Okay, let's go to the next Mishnah. Now, when you wear garments, normally you wear a garment, you wear a jacket or a shirt. You wear it to wear. Sometimes you don't always wear a garment to wear, right? Which we'll see now. Mit b'chois ha'yadayim, a pair of gloves, or mit b'chois hasvar, that you have a cover. It's also a levisha. You're putting it on. No, mit b'chois ha'yadayim is not a pair of gloves. I'm getting mixed up. It's a towel. A towel, or mitbris hasvar, or a mantle. So it's a garment, but it's not used for. It's a type of material, but it's not used to wear. Or mitbris hasvag, or not a hand towel. Mitbris haydaim is the hand towel. This is a bath towel. Ein behem mishum Kilayim. There's no issa of Kilayim on it. However, Rebbe Elazar, he holds it doesn't make a difference, even though it's not created for levisha, which is different than what we had before. The garment that we're talking about before, to be matzil from the meches, was something that was considered a garment for wearing. These items are not. A hand towel, a mantle, a bath towel is not considered wearing. So it's no din of Kilayim. And he explains, these aren't garments to be worn. Therefore, it's not also mishum Kilayim, because they have nothing to do. It says leisil b'shatnis, and that's what we're talking about. Therefore, it becomes problematic. However, Rebbe Eliezer says it's prohibited. What's exactly the logic, the thought process of Rebbe Eliezer? Rebbe Eliezer Soiva, he's of the opinion because at the end of the day, you use it to warm yourself up also, because that's the purpose of garments, to keep yourself warm, mainly. Especially now, you can tell when you're in a Boston winter, you know exactly what we're talking about. Because sometimes a person will take that hand towel in order to warm yourself up, if you have nothing else to do. Sometimes a person will take that mantle and place it on his lap, and put a Sefer Torah on it, and he'll warm himself from this mantle. Sometimes he'll take a type of large bath towel, and he's going to go ahead and cover himself if he's not in the proper, he's not presentable, and he's going to use it. So therefore, it could be considered, even though it's not a normal fashion to wear, sometimes you'll use it for wearing purposes, and that will create that it's considered a garment. Tanakama holds that's not logical. It's not in the norm to warm yourself with a hand towel. There's no problem of wearing it for Kilayim, because that's out of the norm. I feel like Hashem is chamim, even if in situations you warm with it, because that's not considered proper way of usage of the towel. As long as you're putting it on in a fashion that it does cover the body, it's considered a Kilayim. Now, this is one way of learning it. This is a very, very dakistic chilik over here. And this is how most Rishonim learn. That the distinction is it considered a garment or not? According to the Tanakhama, it's not a garment. So there's no problemo if you once in a while you use it out of the norm. The other Mandoma says no. In certain circumstances, be it an emergency, you're going to use it. That creates that it's considered a levisha, and therefore it gets a declaration of a garment, and it'll be prohibited. Now, Hamgra, the Vilna Gaon, mefarish is hamachloigis ba'ofen achle gamri. He comes with a completely different type of conception. Shledivri akol osel ischam b'matverches elu. According to everybody, you can't use this for chimum. If you're doing it because you're cold, because it's a cold winter night, and you don't have your gloves with you, and you wrap your gloves around a hand towel, and that towel happens to be shatnez, no good. Vatanoim lechku rak im chachom oslu shtamish behem kedarkem b'chashash shemi yivoy l'schamim behem oiloi. Over here, it's a completely different machlokes, to the opposite extreme. We're talking over here that you washed your hands, and now you want to go ahead and dry your hands. It could be 90 degrees in the room, and you're only doing it because your hands are wet. Rebbe Eliezer said it's like Xera. We're worried that you might use it once in a while to heat up, and therefore, it's a Xera. Since, of course, when you use it for chimum, not like the way the Rav learns and the Rash learns, it's going to be mutta according to them. Over here, it's going to be asa because of a gezerah. We don't want you to use a hand towel in its normal usage because once in a while you're going to use it for chimum, and according to everybody, that's asa. Vilu Tanakama, so the Tanakama who says it's not problematic, since it's not normal, it's not in the norm to heat yourself up with it, meaning to warm yourself up with a bath towel or a hand towel. Most people don't walk with a hand towel outside in the street if they don't have a pair of gloves. They might put their hands in the pocket, but they're not going to go ahead and warm themselves up with a hand towel. The Chacham didn't make it a gezerah. No gezerahs over here. The whole shaila over here is whether it's a gezerah or not. That's how the Vilna Gaon learns this Mishnah up. So it's the two different sides of the coin, two different extremes. That's Mishnah Gimel. Okay. We know there's a tachriche hames. Tachrichem, how they call it in English, I don't know why, don't ask me, shrouds. They're called shrouds of a deceased person. We know that usually shrouds of a mace is made out of linen, especially some people, they're makbid to use, everybody should live long years till Mashiach, Bezindan Sonsik. But at the end of the day, you have a kittel, and there's a kittel, and because you have the kittel's what they put on you when after Misa, and therefore it's made out of linen. Nowadays people don't go; they want to wash and wear. They just get a kittel and that's it. It looks white and then the story. But a lot of kittel are made out of linen. They're not made out of woolen linen, but they're made out of linen because you're wearing it during a Rosh Hashanah, you wear it during a Kippur, whenever it is by the Seder. You have that. But let's say you have shrouds that were specified for a person who's deceased. So this doesn't have a din of Kilayim. Also, one other case it brings down, Mardash al-Chamor, the saddle cloth of a donkey, not the ukif, the saddle. This is the mardas, which is the saddle cloth. Because a madas, usually an ukif is made out of what? Leather. And what's a saddle cloth made out of? Fabric. What? Fabric. What are we talking about? We're talking about fabric. What? Right? Is ein behem mishum Kilayim. Hamesim petur mikol mitzvahs. To put shatnez on a deceased person, no problem. Rachmana litzlan, because they're potter from all mitzvahs. Shenema b'meisim chavshi. Kloima shehameis chavshi min ha-mitzvahs. A mace has no prohibitions. You can go ahead and put on him Kilayim, beged Kilayim, shatnez, because there's no prohibition. Therefore, you can go ahead and put on him a beged of shatnez. Okay. Now the Gemara, he brings down a famous Gemara about a different question. He goes off on a little bit of a tangent. The Gemara Masechta Menachos says shechayov lahatel tzitzis bebeged arba kanfos shekoivrim bois hameis. That when you bury someone who bury a person, you can put in tzitzis. Because otherwise it looks like you're showing that he's pati. You're putting on a beged of arba kanfos and it's problematic. The Toisvis asks him, some hold that you put on tzitzis because of loig l'rush. You're scoffing at him. So how can you do shatnez? By putting on shatnez, a beged of shatnez, which is not problematic, it's like l'rush. You're scoffing at him. Gives two truths. Shirak es ha talis hatol sits bebeged nechshavas like l'rush lefishim mitzvahs tzitzis shkula keneged kol ha-mitzvahs. The mitzvah of tzitzis is a special mitzvah that's keneged kol ha-mitzvahs, taryag mitzvahs. And they explain why it's considered taryag mitzvahs. That's one. And also, shameis ein lo shum hanois levishim en ha-tachrichem. Ulevishes kizu muteris gam lo adam chai. If, as we mentioned before, there's no benefit, and the whole benefit is chimum, a person who's deceased doesn't have that hana. Therefore, it's not problematic. But at the end of the day, over here, tachrich ha'amais is allowed to be worn by a person who is deceased because he's chavshi min ha-mitzvahs. So therefore, there's no problem of putting on. That's what the Mishna says. Also, okay, we'll continue this tomorrow. Chananya ben Akash Ramas Bochel Zakas Yisrael, Lefig Chibla and Per Mitzvahs, Shinema Adon Yachofetz, L'man Tzidko Yagul Perov V'Yadir.